Here is something that surprises a great many people when they first hear it. There are financial entitlements available to UK pensioners that have absolutely nothing to do with pension credit. And yet, because those benefits are so often spoken about in the same breath, millions of older people have quietly assumed that if they do not qualify for pension credit, they do not qualify for anything else either. That assumption is costing them money, sometimes hundreds of pounds a year, and in certain cases, significantly more. If you are a pensioner in the UK, if you are on the state pension, if you have some savings, a modest private pension, or perhaps a partner who also receives an income, and you have told yourself that pension credit is not for you, please stay with me for the next few minutes, because what we are going to cover today may well change the way you think about what you are entitled to. So, why does this confusion happen in the first place, and why does it matter so much right now? Pension credit gets a great deal of attention, and rightly so, because it remains one of the most underclaimed benefits in the country. Estimates have consistently suggested that somewhere between a third and a half of all eligible pensioners are not claiming it. But the conversation around pension credit has had an unintended side effect. It has led many people who earn slightly above the pension credit threshold to switch off entirely. They hear the word benefits, and they think, that is not for me. I am not poor enough. I manage. And here is the crucial point. Managing is not the same as receiving everything you are actually entitled to. The UK benefit and support system contains a number of provisions that exist regardless of whether you are on pension credit. Some are based on age alone. Some are based on health conditions, some are based on housing costs, and some are available to people with reasonable incomes and even modest savings, people who would never describe themselves as being in financial hardship. The cost of living in retirement has not become easier in recent years. Energy bills, food prices, council tax, and the general cost of everyday life have all placed pressure on household budgets. At a time like this, leaving money unclaimed, money that is yours by right, is something worth examining carefully. Let us go through the main areas where pensioners who are not on pension credit may still be owed support. The first, and perhaps the most widely overlooked, is attendance allowance. This is a benefit for people aged 65 and over who have a physical or mental disability or health condition that means they need help with personal care or supervision. And here is the important part. It is not means-tested. Your income does not affect it. Your savings do not affect it. Whether you own your home or not makes no difference. Attendance allowance is paid based on your care needs, not your financial situation. There are two rates. The lower rate applies if you need help either during the day or during the night. The higher rate applies if you need help both during the day and during the night, or if you are terminally ill. As of the current tax year, the lower weekly rate is £72.65, and the higher weekly rate is £108.55. Over the course of a year, that represents either just under £3,800 or just over £5,600. Significant sums that many people with genuine care needs are not claiming. The conditions that may qualify someone for attendance allowance are broad: arthritis, diabetes, heart conditions, Parkinson's, dementia, anxiety, depression, visual impairment, hearing loss, respiratory problems. These are just some of the conditions that may meet the threshold. The key test is not the diagnosis itself, but how your condition affects your daily life. If you need someone to help you wash, dress, move around, take medication, or be safe during the night, it is worth exploring whether you might be eligible. The second area is the Council Tax Reduction Scheme. This is separate from pension credit, and it is administered locally by your council rather than nationally by the DWP. The rules differ from one local authority to another, which is partly why it gets overlooked. But in many areas of the UK, pensioners on low to modest incomes, including those above the pension credit threshold, can receive a significant reduction in their council tax bill. Some councils offer reductions of 50% or more, and in certain circumstances, a full exemption may apply. It is absolutely worth checking with your local council what your household might be entitled to, because the rules in your area may be more generous than you expect. Third, there is the question of the water bill discount. Several water companies across England, Scotland, and Wales operate social tariff schemes for customers on low incomes or with certain medical conditions. These are not nationally standardized, so what is available to you depends on your water provider. But for some pensioners, particularly those with health conditions that require significant water use, the savings can be meaningful. Again, the eligibility criteria do not necessarily require you to be receiving pension credit. Checking directly with your water supplier is the only way to know for certain. Fourth, and this one is easy to miss, there is the NHS Low Income Scheme, also known as the HC1 and HC2 system. If your income and savings fall below a certain level, you may be able to get help with NHS costs, including dental treatment, sight tests, glasses, and travel costs to hospital. Once again, this is not restricted to people on pension credit. Many people on modest fixed incomes find they qualify when they actually apply, even if they assumed they would not. Now, let us look at a few real-life situations to bring this to life. Consider Margaret, who is 74 and lives alone in a terraced house she owns outright. She receives the full new state pension and a small occupational pension from her former employer, giving her an income just above the pension credit threshold. She has savings of around £15,000. She has never applied for any benefits because she has always believed she earns too much. But Margaret has rheumatoid arthritis. She struggles to dress herself in the mornings and sometimes needs help managing at night due to pain. Margaret has never heard of attendance allowance, and yet she may well qualify for the lower any or even the higher rate. That could mean an extra £72 or more coming into her household every single week. Now think about Raymond and his wife Carol. Raymond is 70 and Carol is 67. Together, their combined income, state pension plus a small private pension for Raymond, puts them comfortably above the pension credit threshold. They have always felt fortunate. But they are both on fixed incomes and their council tax has increased every year. They have never looked into a local council tax reduction because they assumed that was only for people on benefits. Depending on where they live, they could be eligible for a partial reduction that saves them several £100s a year. And then there is Patricia, who is 78 and lives in sheltered housing. She has no serious physical disabilities, but she has been managing anxiety and depression for several years and has increasing difficulty managing her daily routine without prompting. She assumed that mental health conditions would not count for attendance allowance. That is a common misunderstanding. The benefit covers mental as well as physical conditions, provided the care need is genuine and consistent. This brings us to what most people miss, and there are a few things here that are genuinely worth drawing attention to. The first is that many pensioners underestimate the care needs they actually have. When filling in a form, people tend to describe their best days. They think about what they can do when everything is going well, rather than what a typical day actually looks like. For attendance allowance in particular, the assessment is based on your actual day-to-day needs, not on what you might manage on a good day with great effort. Describing your difficulties honestly, and with the support of a GP or carer where possible, can make a significant difference to the outcome of a claim. The second thing many people miss is that these entitlements do not automatically come to you. The DWP does not write to you when you turn 65 and tell you what you might be able to claim. You have to seek this out. That means there are millions of people, right now, who are going without support they are legally entitled to simply because no one told them it existed. And the third detail that often gets overlooked is that receiving attendance allowance can actually open the door to other benefits. If you are currently not on pension credit, but you begin receiving attendance allowance, it can change your pension credit calculation, because attendance allowance is not counted as income. In some cases, people who thought they were above the pension credit threshold discover that once their circumstances are reassessed, they are entitled to it after all. The system is interconnected in ways that are not always obvious. So what are the practical steps you can take? The first step is to look at your current situation honestly, not just your income, but your health, your daily needs, and your costs. Do you or your partner have a condition that affects your daily life? Are you relying on someone to help you with personal care, even informally? If so, it is worth looking into attendance allowance specifically. The second step is to contact your local council and ask about council tax reduction. Explain your household income and ask what schemes are available in your area. Do not assume the answer before you ask. The variation between local authorities is considerable. The third step is to look into the NHS low-income scheme if you are paying for dental treatment, glasses, or regular hospital travel. An HC1 application form is available free from NHS services and some pharmacies. And fourth, and this is important, consider speaking to a benefits advisor. Age UK operates a free advice line and has local branches across the country. Citizens Advice can also carry out a full benefits check, which looks at everything you might be entitled to based on your circumstances. These are free services, they are staffed by trained advisors, and they have helped many thousands of pensioners identify support they did not know existed. It is also worth mentioning that claims can sometimes be backdated depending on the benefit and the reason for the delay. This is worth asking about when you contact a service, as it may mean you are entitled to a lump sum in arrears as well as ongoing payments. If any of what we have covered today sounds relevant to your situation, please do not feel overwhelmed. You do not have to apply for everything at once, and you do not have to navigate this alone. Start with one area, perhaps the one that feels most relevant to your health or your household costs, and take it one step at a time. The organizations mentioned, including Age UK and Citizens Advice, are there precisely to help people in your position. There is no shame in using them. That is what they are there for. Rules and thresholds can change from year to year, and your individual circumstances will always determine what you are actually entitled to. What we have covered today is intended as a guide to the kinds of support that exist, not a guarantee of what you will receive. Always verify your eligibility through an official source or a trusted advisor. Let us bring the key points together. Being above the pension credit threshold does not mean you are entitled to nothing. Attendance allowance is available based on care needs, not income or savings, and it applies to both physical and mental health conditions. Council tax reduction schemes vary by local authority, and many pensioners with modest incomes may still qualify. NHS cost support, water tariff discounts, and other provisions also exist outside the pension credit system. And crucially, none of these come to you automatically. You have to ask. The most important takeaway is simply this: do not assume. The assumption that you earn too much or have too much saved or are too comfortable to be entitled to anything, that assumption is costing British pensioners a very great deal of money every single year. A quick check, a single phone call, or a conversation with an advisor could make a real difference. If you found this video helpful, please consider subscribing to Retirement Money UK. We cover pensions, DWP updates, state pension changes, savings, taxes, and all the money matters that affect people in retirement here in the UK. Every week, we aim to bring you straightforward, fact-based information that helps you make the most of your retirement income. We would be glad to have you with us.